Greetings, people who clicked on this video by mistake, or people who are suicidal. So I talked about my noun complement base forms in previous videos. I have many different versions and different lists, but this is my favorite list of base forms, the one I would use if I were to publish this in book form. So let's take a look specifically again at the noun base form. So the noun base form has 4 applications. We talked about that. We have 4 applications under the noun heading. Are there any applications that we have missed? We suspect that we could possibly have another application when we see a sentence like this one. In 1948, Democrats elected Truman president. Now, I use this sentence because the word elected is important because he was president before this, but he was not elected. Okay, so that's why I use elected here. We must analyze the sentence to see what we appear to have and what we really have. Then we will be able to say whether we need another application of noun as noun complement. In 1948, Democrats elected President Truman. We see that we have a genuine, or you would call it independent clause. For economy of words and space, we simply dropped the prepositional phrase in 1948. We'll drop that. So we have Democrats elected Truman president. We have a subject side and we have a predicate side. So we see a word that's referred to as a complement, one that seemingly complements the word directly before it. It looks as though we have base form 5, application 4, and that reads, mutable noun complements proper noun. Mutable noun complements proper noun. President is a mutable noun. It can be uppercase or lowercase. The lowercase word president appears to be complementing the proper noun Truman. The complement in this case is referring backward. That would be anaphoric instead of referring forward, which is cataphoric. So we see here in the original example in our original list that the complement is complementing forward. And today we just showed that the complement might be complementing backward. So far, so good. But what if we consider the 3 levels on which clauses and phrases can manifest? Genuine, synthetic, elliptical. That's what I teach in my grammar system. I teach these 3 levels. Then we might not be so quick to end our investigation. In other words, we might want to just keep moving forward and see what we get. What if, on the original level, we are actually more comprehensively saying this? All right, in our minds, what if we're saying this? Democrats elected Truman to be their president. Or in the mind, what if the original structure was Democrats elected Truman to be president? All right, either way, we have something that could be going on in the mind. Each of these longer sentences contains an infinitive phrase. If one of these longer constructions is indeed the foundation of the complete thought in question, then we could have base form 2, infinitive, which reads the infinitive can be a noun complement. You've heard me say that before in many videos. So you see that on one level, elliptical, sentence A, you have a complement as base form 5, application 4. On another level, the genuine level, sentences B and C, you have a complement as base form 2, infinitive. Okay, that should be pretty clear. But what about this? Democrats elected Truman to the presidency. All right, here we see that the object complement, that's this, is a prepositional phrase. As such, we would have base form 1, prepositional phrase, which tells us that the prepositional phrase can be a noun complement. So, again, we ask, do we need yet another noun application? We saw sentences B, C, and D. All right, we saw this here. This is new for our study. Each of these sentences appears to be grammatically sound and complete, and each of the respective complements are validated by reference to the list of base forms featured herein. That's my list of base forms. Also, if you look closely at these three structures, you will see that in these seemingly complete structures, neither the word president nor presidency carries the same weight that the word president does in sentence A. Now you see sentence A, all right? The first one, we have president immediately seems to complement Truman, all right? But up here, you see that these object complements are phrasal. There's more to it. They're more complicated. All right, let's move forward. The direct object, Truman, and the object complement, president, are contiguous. They're beside each other, right beside each other. Thus, the object complement structure can look and sound awkward, which it does. It's weird. Truman, president. It's just clunky weird when you have two nouns directly beside each other. And having seen the alternatives, B, C, and D, right, we might be tempted to deem this sentence elliptical. That is, when reading such a terse sentence, which contains a terse object complement phrase, right there, we might be inclined to think that some sort of omission has been affected. In other words, in the brain, when you first read this and you see it, you think, that's a little clunky. With these conditions in mind, we must make a choice. That choice will determine whether we introduce a new application of noun as noun complement base form. All right? So option one, that's one thing we could do. If we consider sentence A nothing more than elliptical, in other words, nothing more than an elliptical version of B, C, or D, then we are good to go. Our complements are validated by the list of base forms presented herein. In other words, the list of base forms that we already have covers this. All right? Now, option two. This is where we consider sentence A to be complete in itself. That is, we have a genuine independent clause without any omissions. In this case, we are covered by base form 5, application 4, as shown above. Now, here's the kicker. Here's the problem. This application works only when the object complement is a qualified mutable noun. All right, this we know is a mutable noun. This can be a lowercase president or it can be uppercase. I've showed you that in previous videos. All right, so this works only when the object complement is a qualified mutable noun. So let's look at this new sentence. Criminologists deemed Memphis a civic disaster because of their extremely high crime rate. If we choose to consider this sentence as elliptical, then we are covered by the list of base forms given herein. The original thought would be closer to this. In other words, this we would think is elliptical, and this is the original thought, the underlying original thought in the mind. Criminologists deem Memphis to be a civic disaster. So we see this as an elliptical form of this. And if that's true, then our base forms will work and we're good to go. However, if we choose to consider sentence E as complete in itself, then we would have to create a new application, which would be as follows. Common noun complements proper noun. So here we would have criminologists deemed Memphis a disaster, or you could say real estate speculators deemed Fort Worth a success. Or you could say technology experts deemed Elon Musk a genius. So you see here, if we consider a sentence like this or this as complete in itself, then we have a problem. We fix this problem here because we have a mutable noun. But here we don't have a mutable noun. So what do? We would have to create another application, which is this one, right? Ultimately, your own personal list of nouns as noun complements will be determined by the choice that you have made. It all depends on how you choose to look at the sentences that you read and the sentences that you write. So here's the original 4 applications under the noun heading, which I've been showing for quite some time. But if you decide to look at that sentence differently, that's what this video is all about. If you decide to look at it the way you like it and the way you think the mind works, then you would have to use a revised list of applications under the noun heading. And we introduced this new one here, common noun complements proper noun. Because in some cases, depending on how your mind works, this mutable noun application will not work. Okay, think it through, give it some thought. It's a beautiful thing. And we'll move forward from here and see what topic pops up. Thank you for being incredibly patient, and good night.